Today we are in Chapter 5, Section 3, and we're going to be talking about the costs and businesses, specifically about e-commerce. E-commerce has become so prevalent over the last few years, and what that is a electronic business or exchange that's conducted over the internet. So again, it loses the whole idea of brick and mortar locations, so that you have more of a distribution. So like things like eBay or places like Amazon. Even some of the big retailers that we have to begin with, like Walmart and Home Depot, they use a lot of this e-commerce in order to help raise their profits. Why would they get more profits? Well, because the fact of the matter is you'd have less overhead costs, less fixed costs whenever you're using the online service. You have less employees working to different aspects, less advertising, actual structures of stores, and location of stores. Having a distribution center would be the easiest way to make that extra cash. So stores are increasingly selling online, and the question is why? The fact of the matter is having this ease of purchase makes customers feel like their purchase is better, meaning that if you're looking online, if you're browsing online and you see a deal and it sounds like a great deal, you're going to be apt to press that button. All right, you're going to press the button and you're going to take it. Where if you're actually looking at shopping in a brick and mortar location, you have to walk around, and it takes a lot more time. So having that ease at your fingertips makes larger purchases a lot easier for the average consumer. So why sell online? Places like Amazon, of course, the overhead on the internet is very low. Firms, they don't need to have much inventory, meaning that, remember we talked about earlier, COGS, the cost of the goods sold. If you don't have to have many COGS in that store, you're going to be able to open up to a wider market. So it helps to its break-even point. Less sales needed to cover the total cost, because again, if you have a brick and mortar location, you have to keep it looking nice, you have to keep it clean, you have to have paint and signage and shelving. In these distribution centers, you don't have the customers actually seeing that, so you don't have to put into the time and cut back on the overhead costs, so that your break-even point is easier to reach. Electronic businesses conducted over the internet, they don't need to buy a store, and they need software packages only, meaning that they have the process or the computer information. If you look at the assembly lines or distribution centers like in Walmart, everything is computerized, and we'll see a little bit of that towards the end of the year. Owners may not have, or may have merchandise in stock or may forward others to a distribution center, meaning that, think about places like Avon, people who sell Avon. If you do it online, you're not actually going to hold that product in your hand. You're going to contact the supplier, and the supplier is going to send it to you. So you basically become a middleman for that supplier in that sense. Significantly lower fixed costs of operation compared to retail stores. The same idea, the same aspect of just being able to press a couple buttons and you have all that stuff there. You don't know where it's coming from. You look at the different apps that we have on your phone now. You got Groupon, you have Wish. They give you a lot of options where you just press a couple buttons and it looks too good to be true. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. In the last section we talked about, and I had you just watch a video about Toys R Us, and that was kind of summarizing what was happening. Toys R Us, when I was a kid, the whole idea was you want to grow up because you wanted to play with toys all the time. Kids' tastes, their preferences have changed. So with the Toys R Us not being able to keep up with these other mass retailers. Now think about it from the perspective of Toys R Us, they had a control of the entire toy market. Whenever places like Target and Walmart started to advertise toys, it was much smaller on scale. But the thing is, the advantage that these different places had, like Walmart and Target, was they were able to lower their costs, because what they were able to do is have the margins and the markups on the other items that they have offered. The whole idea of they're going to make a lot more money off of clothing and stationery products and CDs and music. All that other stuff led them to have the power to be able to lower their costs on these other items and effectively destroy the market for toys, meaning that these other places that were so specialized were not able to compete. And that's what you see again with the demise of places like Toys R Us and Babies R Us. So what I'm going to have you guys do for this next assignment is, with a partner, you're going to talk about the malls and the deterioration. How would you reuse the space of deteriorating malls to have a successful business? This next video I'm going to have you from CNN just to talk about, it's very, very brief, but it shows you, how the malls that we've grown up in have kind of gone away. Now, I say we've grown up, and I know I've grown up, and again, in the last few years, you've seen them kind of demise. Whenever I was young, we used to have places like, mall rats. I grew up in the Century 3 Mall, which is in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. It was 3 stories, it was huge, and literally me and my friends would just go out there and hang out for the day, walk around looking at stores, hang out with friends. It was kind of the place to be. Now you don't see that happening. When you walk in Clearview Mall, there's a lot of empty spaces. Or even if there's not empty spaces, a lot of the name brand locations have kind of gone away. So what would you do? What would you do to help revive mall spaces? What could you add to it? I want this to be a problem-solving project. I think back to a few years ago, there was a new mall towards Pittsburgh called Pittsburgh Mills, and when we first walked into it, it was beautiful. Everything was full, everything was great, just a really nice shopping center, and now when you go in there, there's not much there, and it's kind of sad and depressing. So I want you to create a list of reasons why you think, what you think would plan to work. What would you do to revitalize or bring back the people to places like Clearview Mall? What would you know about the supply and demand? And use what you know about the theory of production, costs, revenue, profit maximization, and e-commerce. There'll be a worksheet on here on the website that I'm going to work through.